So this is a pair of Paul Smith shoes that were sort of like a chestnutty mid-brown before. We've stripped all the colour right back to the bare hide, as you can clearly see. It's gone right back to the bare hide everywhere. And what we've done at this moment in time, these are going to be a two-tone shoe. So they're going to be black, as you can clearly see. This is a pure black that's gone on to this half of the shoe. And we've then shadowed the black out here, and then all of this is going to have like a lighter tan on here and then streaks, so it actually represents and looks identical to wood. So that is going to be the next stages that we're going to do. As you can clearly see right the way through, they are looking black at the moment on this on the rear end, and then obviously on the toe and the tongue area, all that area is going to be done like a lighter color, like a lighter sort of tan, and then the dark sort of brown, the very dark sort of brown streaks are going to go over there to represent and recreate a wood look. So we've got all the, obviously the actual sole, it's been blackened all the way around as well, as you can clearly see. And then the wood is going to go in these sections here through the tongue and all down the side here. And they're going to look absolutely stunning. So the wood section is what we're going to demonstrate and show to you next. So now we are at the next stage with these, which is what we're making wood. So we're using the shoe cream on these, as you can see, and we're using the oak brown, I think it was oak brown. Yes, the oak brown. And we're going to put on only a very, very thin coating, because obviously the next coating that we want to go over here is the wood streaking effect. So this is just a very, very, very thin layer that, as you can see, is going to go on here, just to sort of give it the base. And then the colour that goes over the top is basically, it's the same colour but in dye form, and that's going to give them the nice sort of wood look to them. But that is the next stages on these Paul Smith shoes. Quite a nice shoe. We're going to polish all the bases up on these as well. As you can see, it's typical sort of Paul Smith with all the flowery pattern. But as you can see, it's actually looking quite nice as it is, to be fair, because it's got darkness going into the nice creasing of the leather, and that's coming along quite well. So yeah, they're looking quite nice as they are, to be fair. But they're going to be even more stunning once all the lines are put in them to create the sort of wood effect on these particular shoes. So again, that's using the shoe cream we're going on here now. The original black was done with the shoe dyes, and this is now done with the shoe cream. And then we're going to be going over the top with the shoe dye again, over the top of the cream's base that's gone in there, because the cream base has like a dye in it, so that's going to go over the top, and then the dye is going to go over the top to create the streaking. And that we're probably just going to do is to cut a sponge into lines and then crimp the sponge to get the lines and just evenly stroke down in one hit, is what we're hoping we're going to do with that one. So we'll show you that in just a second. So as you can clearly see, we've done all the streaking to represent the timber on here. You can see we've not quite finished off this particular shoe. You can see it's sort of very light just here on this front, and we're just going to run some streaks down there with the thick paste that we've got here. And there's the sponge. As we said, we put lines in it so that we could get the solution on it and then just streak that down, and we'll show you how that goes. Just start at the top. You need to try to do it in one sort of fell swoop if you can, in one hit, just like so, to create the lines, as you can see going on there, just like that. You can see it just creating those darker lines. It looks absolutely amazing, and that's the effects that you're trying to get. And you can see there where it's just coming over the lighter area, just to make that look perfect again. And that is exactly what you've got to do. Simple as that. So as you can see, here is one we made earlier. These are the Paul Smith shoes that we are doing black and making look like wood at the front and into the tongue area. As you can clearly see here, they really do have this beautiful look to them. And this particular one here we're going to do next, and we're just going to show you what we're doing to achieve this look, really. So it's very, very simple. We're using the pure shoe dyes and going along with a paintbrush and just putting the lines in. You don't want an awful lot on the brush. Just try to do it in one sort of stroke if you can. If you have to come back and go over, then go over it, and just make sure you create those lines. They obviously don't want to be straight, as you can clearly see, because you're trying to sort of replicate what actually looks like genuine timber. So you've just got to make sure that you sort of get the line on. It can be wavy. You can almost sort of do it with like a knot in it. If you're that sort of ingenious and clever to sort of put knots in it, you can do. It's just trying to make it look like it's got a sort of timber effect on the shoe, so it almost looks like wood. And I mean, this looks absolutely amazing. Looking at this in real life looks absolutely staggering. The video isn't really doing it any justice, to be fair. It's not sort of clearly picking up all the tones and things, but it does look absolutely stunning, as you can clearly see. And it's just a matter of going on and just streaking that down, starting from one end and going all the way through. And then once that's sort of done, you know, what we're going to then do is using the brush, we'd then blend in with the brush. As you can see there's a brush, and we would then blend in with that particular brush to almost sort of give them tones and characters and stuff like that. So in the next sort of stage, once we've got all this on here, we'll then come back and we're then going to show you the blending in with the brush, so we can show you exactly how we do that to sort of put all the characters and tones into the sort of finish as we have done with the other particular shoe. So there it is again. So that is how you get your timber effects on these Paul Smith shoes. So as you can see there, that is obviously the original shoe done. So we've put all the lines into this particular shoe. Now we want to go over with the brush. The actual brush itself, as you can see, has got some of the shoe dye in it, the sort of reddy brown shoe dye in it. And what we're going to do is, we've not got it wet, it's almost sort of like a dry brush, but with a little bit of the dye in. So what we're going to do now is just almost like brush over it like you're polishing it. And what that's going to do is sort of like spread the tones around, mix them into the shoe, and sort of blend it up and give it sort of a little bit of darkness, you know, on the shoe, to make that just look a little bit darker, and to spread those around and just to give them character and just to help them blend in. As you can see, it's now beginning to look identical to the other shoe. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're almost just sort of spreading the dyes in effect before they're completely fully cured. So that's exactly the next sort of stage in the process. After that, we will just be sealing with the we'll either use the clear neutral shoe cream, or we could potentially use the rawhide base and go over that very, very carefully with the rawhide base, even just to seal them in and give them a little bit of a sheen. But as you can see, they've got a little bit of a sheen now anyway, but to try to make them look like wood, we don't want them to have like a high gloss sheen to them. We prefer to have something sort of natural, that almost looks sort of like a, not quite as high as a French polish look, but it just wants to have like a little bit of a luster, like most sort of dining table furniture things have got. So that's the sort of look that we're trying to go for. But I do believe they look absolutely amazing, the way they've been transformed to look something, you know, completely different. So the next sort of core stage is going to be just putting on that sealer, and they are completely finished as well for these Paul Smith shoes. The only thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at painting the soles of these to give them a bit of character on the sole. So that's going to be, once we've sealed them, that's going to be one of the next stages that we do to them. So these are the Paul Smith shoes that we have done all the black on the rear end to, along with the wood effect along all the front and the vamp area. As you can see, we've done the soles on these a red colour. This particular one here has had nothing done to it, so this has been dyed red already. So if you could imagine getting a brand new pair of shoes, you could do this to a brand new pair of shoes. All we have done is to wipe these down with alcohol cleaner and then dye them. We've not tried to do any corrective work to the soles or resoled them or anything like that. We're just simply showing you for detail on these particular shoes what can and cannot be done. So with a brand new pair of shoes, when you get them, before you use them, wipe them down with alcohol to allow the leather to be open again, and then you can use the rawhide dyes to dye them. So that's exactly what we're going to do now, is to use the rawhide dye on this one particular shoe. We're just going to move that one out the way for a moment and just tip that back over. So we're just going to simply wipe the dye on, and just wants to get it into the stitch line area as best as you can. If you can't get it all in there, then we would maybe use a paintbrush to go in there, but just go straight on with nice flat even strokes. Once we've got one full coat over the whole of the base and the heel, we would then go over it with a second coating to put a second coat on. So we're going to go through this whole process with you for doing this on this sole and on the heel, and then we're going to actually go over, swap over to the other shoe that we've already done the sole on, and that's where we're going to use the rawhide base with the dye in it, which is what's in the small pot mixed up just there in that small pot. And that is the rawhide dye with the rawhide base, which is going to seal them and give them a little bit of a luster shine as well. So just make sure you get all that into all the sort of nooks and crannies on the sole, and then we're going to get into all the flower detail work. That'll be done with the second coating that we'll get on. We'll get that right into all the sort of flower area on these Paul Smith shoes. Obviously, when you're doing this, just be careful that when you're tipping out the pure dye that you don't obviously go getting any on the shoe that you've already nicely coloured, because that can actually cause a problem because it is a pure dye, so it will dye everything and stain everything. So just make sure that you don't get any of that on there. So the next stage, we're going to do the base on the first shoe, which is this particular shoe here. So we're going to do the base on that one, and we're going to leave that one to dry for probably about an hour, and then we'll be able to come back to the other one and do that one. But this is the final stages that we're doing to these shoes. So we're simply turning it over and just wiping in the rawhide dye and rawhide base, as you can see. Like so, again with this particular product, get it nice straight lines, nice even strokes, so you get no sort of swirling or build up, because that will show. So just nice straight even strokes, and that's all exactly what you need to do. So that is exactly how you are going to apply the rawhide dye with the rawhide base mixed into it. Nice even strokes like that, so it looks lovely and glossy. And then once it's on, you can then give that a slight buff, and you'll get a nice sort of what we call basically a satin sheen to the sole. So that is the last sort of process that you'll be doing on the Paul Smith shoes. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you need any shoes, custom designing like this with custom colours, you can supply the shoes, or we can even source them if you wish, and we can custom design colours on them for any sort of custom design that you particularly wish. But you can see there what those shoes look like with this sort of black with the wood fronts and the nice red soles that they've now got. Any details you need to know, head on over to the website leatherrepaircompany.com or drop us an email, help@leatherrepaircompany.com. Thanks very much.